Fortnite is a really popular game. There is absolutely no denying that, okay? I don't know why some people want to deny that. A lot of people who haven't played Fortnite are probably wanting to know what this game is about. Luckily, if you're one of those people, this video is for you. This is purely talking about the story side of things. So if you don't really care about the storyline, just go ahead and start the game. There's really not that much else to say. At the time of me recording this, there's about 10 more days until Chapter 2 Season 8 starts, so I won't be talking about Chapter 2 Season 8 in this video, although I'll try to make a video when that season comes out. Now, don't expect it as soon as the new season comes out, because I might be busy that time. But nonetheless, let's go and get started on what this Fortnite storyline currently is. The storyline pretty much kickstarts at the beginning of Chapter 1 Season 4. An asteroid collided with the island, and inside the asteroid was somebody called the Visitor, a member of the Seven, which I'll reference later. This alien was not like any ordinary alien. He came here on purpose for a reason, to find something called the 0 point, which I'll mention again in this video. After building a rocket at the end of the season, he ended up going right towards the center of the island, Loot Lake. But then he went back in space, so this was really a weird event. But he accidentally caused time and space to collide on itself. I don't know how, it probably has to do with the rocket fuel. Just saying. But then Chapter 1 Season 5 started, and all of a sudden different stuff from different time periods was starting to appear all over the map. One of which being Kevin the Cube. Okay, I know that's a stupid, silly name, but I promise you that's actually what it was called in-game. This cube was simply titled the Rolling Cube of Death by a lot of Fortnite fans. Hence the name, it rolled around the map. Until it stopped right at Loot Lake and dissolved and turned the entire lake purple. Then at the start of Season 6, it completely rose up from the lake and became a cube again. But after a while, the entire cube exploded and sent us to another dimension, and then the lake was removed. Kevin the Cube's ruins just sat in a Stonehenge type of formation. There was no 0 point discovered at that time, but we wouldn't have to wait too long till we actually found it. On to Season 8, and we ended up finding out that some sort of government facility was having a construction site right at Loot Lake. Little did we know that this was also tied into the storyline. After a while, we ended up finding that there was a vault hidden beneath the island, and after a very long season in my opinion, the vault opened and we were able to find the 0 point. While most people were there for the unvaulting of the drum gun, bunch of losers, some people like me were trying to look for some clues, and we ended up finding the 0 point itself. The 0 point, if you want to know more about it, is a nexus of power. If you're a Marvel fan, you should know what that means. But just in case if you don't know, it fuels the entire island. Not only that, we found a desk with a mask, and apparently some lady had been here protecting it. But as soon as we were there, she had left. Oh, and speaking of us leaving, we ended up finding out that a fraction of Polar Peak from Season 7 exploded. This was also a part of the story. On to Season 9, and surprise, surprise, everything was like 50 years into the future. Tilted Towers, which is now called Neo Tilted, was being powered by the power of the 0 point. The person who was protecting the 0 point, which we now know is Singularity, that's her name, actually had a statue right in the middle of Neo Tilted. Everything looked awesome, no pun intended, but turns out there was an evil enemy on the horizon at Polar Peak, a monster, who quickly vanished into the sea after it thawed out of the iceberg. This season we even met a different character named Bunker Jonesy. Now Jonesy is the default character that a lot of people don't really like that much for some weird reason. This version actually has the ability to foretell future events, and so it did with this season. There was a special loading screen that fans could unlock. It took me forever and I actually never unlocked it. Luckily, the power of the internet, I have actually found it. And what happened? Well, the painting foretold a fight between a monster and a mech. Luckily, there was a robot being constructed right at the volcano that destroyed Polar Peak in Season 8. However, this event was really important for a lot of reasons. After the mech was about to be destroyed permanently, the mech had to do something surprising. It ended up using the power of the 0 point by literally taking it out of the vault and then stabbed the entire monster in the head. Now I don't know what type of game this is. Afterwards, the mech flew up into outer space and was never seen again until it became a skin. However, now the 0 point was hanging above the vault until the start of Season X, it exploded. Season X is by far slam-packed with all sorts of storylines. so I'll try my best to be quick at it and make it in a nutshell. Basically, the 0 point is paused at that exact moment it's exploding, cause some old locations to reappear, make some of the locations that we knew of return to their original state. An asteroid was hanging above the island, frozen in time, much like the 0 point itself, but there was somebody in there. Somebody named the Scientist. This is another person who's related to the Visitor. However, he's a lot smarter than the Visitor. In fact, much like the Visitor, he made a rocket. But unlike the Visitor, he made about 6 of them. What in the world was he going to do with them? Well, at the end of Season X, and the end of Chapter 1, little do we know that at the time, we found out his intentions. He was going to destroy the 0 point. Turns out it actually worked. But this may have been a really high cost to pay. You see, here's what happened at the end of Chapter 1. Fortnite was completely sucked up into a black hole, the 0 point destroyed forever. But then Chapter 2 started. Somehow, it seemed like everything was just there. Now, we don't know exactly if this is a brand new island or if this is the old island with just different graphics. We're still gonna probably have to find out like a few more chapters from now. But after a very long season, we found out where this next 0 point was at. Exactly like last time, it was underneath the island. But, unlike last time, a man knew of its existence. This man's name was Midas, much like the Greek tale you probably heard of, the king who could turn anything into gold. Midas had intentions to make sure everybody could escape the island, or more specifically, the loop. Now, if you don't know what looping is, the loop is basically every time you start a new match, that's time resetting itself in the game. A little bit of fun facts for you. And because this took place in 2020, this was a very delayed season. Luckily, we found out what his intentions were, and he turned on the device. Using the power of the 0 point, Midas ended up building a machine to push back the storm, and it worked for like 2 minutes. You see, he did push back the storm far enough, but then it came back and became a huge wall of water, so he could not escape the island. We did actually escape the island though, but we ended up in somebody's office. This office had a computer screen showing the entire event. We had no idea whose office this was until the man himself entered the room. It was Jonesy, but before he could interrogate us, we were teleported back to the island. Now on to Chapter 2, Season 4, one of the most insane seasons by far. It was a Marvel collaboration season. You see, Galactus from the Marvel Universe felt the power of the 0 point. Luckily, his herald was Thor the God of Thunder. However, when Thor tried to get to the island to make sure everybody could evacuate, he started losing his memory. Luckily, he summoned some of the Avengers, and Captain America came in a little bit later. But luckily, we found out that Iron Man didn't lose his memories, so he did what anybody would do, a defense system. To make a long story short, Galactus ended up arriving to the island. He went for a bath for some reason, until he was so hungry, he decided to feast his dinner. Luckily, we defeated Galactus by using AC/DC music, the battle bus, and Thor's awesome hammer. Now, he did get sent back to his dimension, meaning everything in the Marvel Universe went back. Thor got his memories back, the battle bus returned to normal, sadly, and Iron Man's defense system was completely gone. That was not even close to the end of the story though. You see, after this was done, Jonesy was seen awakening mid-earthquake. This confirms everybody's theories that the 0 point is affecting all worlds and destabilizing all realities. So Dr. Sloan, Jonesy's boss, tells him he needs to go to the island to make sure nobody uses the 0 point to get back to where they came from. However, he misses a huge piece of information right here.
And do not draw the attention of the 7.
Don't draw the attention of the 7. You know, the people who blew up the first island? It's still debated whether or not these guys are good or bad. Now, personally, I think they're a mix of good. Of course, that isn't proven yet, but let's just keep on moving. Throughout this entire season, there were collabs everywhere. You see, Aliens, Terminator, Street Fighter of all things, got crossed over. Of course, there's a handful of others I missed, but due to time's sake, we gotta keep moving. However, every time Jonesy recruits another hunter, he keeps on destabilizing the 0 point even more. More cracks appear on it, and even more crazy stuff goes on around the island. At the end of the season, it turns out Jonesy's group was supposed to help him out, but they betrayed as soon as everything started going wrong. So Jonesy had to go to what no other agent on his team has done before, going to the 7. And that's what the next season was about, him going to the 7 and leaving the imagined order. Now Jonesy's plan is to recruit the leader of the 7, and might I add, he looks awesome. I mean, seriously, look at this dude. Of course, he does what literally anybody would do to a villain, and then Jonesy says this word, and it makes him stop fighting.
Geno! I can get you to Geno.
And the sisters?
I can get you all of them.
Geno and the Sisters. That's kind of a weird name. Now, personally, I believe it's some sort of galaxy or solar system. Of course, there's a lot of other theories that goes on, but I don't know if any of them have been proven just yet, so let's keep moving on. To cut a long story short, the Foundation, that's his name, figures that he can contain the blast of the 0 point before it explodes. However, he needs Jonesy to overload his portal device. And that was it. That's all we found out. Honestly, this is kind of a lame season. Even though we had some cool crossovers, it was just kind of boring. Luckily, at the end of the season, there was some weird stuff going on around the island. Crop circles started appearing, and little did we know, aliens were arriving. When the aliens arrived, they decided to go straight for the spire, where the 0 point was resting. Not only that, that was also where the Foundation was the entire season. And, well, just watch what happens. There's still debate whether or not the aliens pushed the 0 point down into the ground or exploded. One thing we do know is that the Foundation is no longer in there. In fact, he's seen plummeting to possibly his death. We really don't know at this point. We do know that Dr. Sloan, Agent Jonesy's boss, is now at the island, and she recruited Superman and Rick Sanchez from Rick and Morty. I guess promoting Pringles didn't pay too well, huh? Anyways, currently we got about 10 more days until the start of the next season. And so far, we do know that Dr. Sloan is trying to take down the mothership by herself. And let me just add, have you seen how huge that thing is? I mean, my goodness, that is like a huge thing. If that comes plummeting down, it's going to destroy like half of the island or even all of it. So let's just hope by the end of this season, we'll see a brand new island or half of a new island. I don't know, take your pick. Chapter 2, Season 8 starts September 12th, which is Sunday, so sadly I can't play, but there is rumor of an event to end off the season. We typically get end of season events. Let's just hope that it's going to be something big, because honestly, I want to know what happened to Agent Jonesy. I want to know what happened to the Foundation. So hopefully we'll get all those answered. Now that's it for this entire video. Hopefully you guys liked it. Make sure to share, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video. Take care.